Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Filled Quiver Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Jody Thibodeau, and it's my goal with this and every episode to help you fill your quiver with God and the great outdoors. It's been a while since the last episode dropped, I know. I've had a lot going on, and my priorities are church and God, family, and then this falls somewhere after that, just depending on what all else is going on between work and extracurricular activities. But I enjoy doing it. I'm working on getting back into it with a more regular basis. I've got several episodes already lined up to come out over the next couple of months, as well as some interviews with some interesting folks that I'm working on as well. But stay tuned. I am getting back to it. Hopefully, by dropping episodes on Sundays now, it'll be a little bit easier for me, a little bit less stressful trying to make sure things get dropped when they're supposed to be. Now, the plan is to have these drop first thing in the morning. However, over the last few episodes, I've noticed that regardless of when they are scheduled to be released, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's been 3 hours before the episodes have actually been available on some of the streaming services for podcast. But just keep up with us. Make sure you're following the show and subscribe to the show on whatever podcast streaming service you use. And also, if you don't mind, just make sure that you're liking and giving me some reviews and some good feedback. But outside of that, in the next episode, I'll spend a little bit more time explaining some of the changes that I have planned for the show. But just keep up with us, Instagram, Facebook, and the website. I'm working on the website, and there'll be some new merchandise dropping on the website. Some is outdoor related, and some is going to be the beginnings of a patriotic, historical Revolutionary War themed designs that I've been working on for a couple of years actually. But if you like the show and you want to support us in ways other than subscribing, liking, and just letting your friends know about us, then definitely check out the website and consider ordering some merchandise. I know Father's Day is coming up, and looking for that last minute gift. Order some swag off the website, get some stickers, or maybe even a gospel fly lapel pin. Right now, I'm running a deal through Father's Day that no coupon codes are needed, but if you buy any two of the stickers, I'm going to throw in a third mystery sticker for you for free as well. And also, any orders of the Gospel Fly lapel pin, we'll also get one of the Gospel Fly decals as well, one of the 3-inch stickers. But outside of that, this is a long episode. I believe it is actually the longest interview that I've released to this point, but it is a very good, very interesting episode with 3 of the guys from Hermit Company. And there's a very good chance that if you order it today, you might not have it in time for Father's Day. But if you're looking for a gift for the fly tying father in your life, then definitely check out what they've got. The books that they mentioned, the little field guides that they mentioned in the interview, they actually have posted those back on their website for sale. They've apparently found a case of them, and they're working on selling those now. But they also have the Palmer, which is how I found them and why I originally reached out to them for this interview. And the second half of the interview is focused on the Palmer, which is a handheld tying vise, and it is a very neat, intriguing tool that I know is on my wish list, that I'm hopefully going to end up getting one for myself here in the near future. But again, check them out, and I hope that you guys enjoy the show. We'll see you next time. All right, so for this episode, I have three of the guys that are the founders of the Hermit Company, and we have Lars, Jonas, and Robin. And before we dive into the episode and talk about what it is you guys make that I found, well, which is how I found you guys, go ahead and let the audience just know who you are and what your claim to fame is.
All right. So should we start from the beginning or just?
Well, let's just start with who you are, where you're at, because you guys are not in the United States,
Yes.
and
No.
what it is that you guys do for a living and for hobbies.
All right. Well, my name is Jonas Knutinen, and based in Helsinki. And as a profession, I am a teacher, elementary school teacher, and well, fly fishing has been my passion for almost 10 years now. And I've been really into fly tying as well for about 6 years now. And that's it, basically.
Yeah. My name is Robin Falk, also one of the founders of the Hermit Company based in Helsinki. When I'm not doing anything related to fly fishing or anything we do with the Hermit boys, I work as a industrial designer, and it's quite fun as I get to also use some of those skills in the stuff that we do with Hermit. And I think my story with fishing, or let's say fly fishing, started also over 10 years ago. And yeah, I think it's just really quickly I fell in love with the whole sport, or the whole world of fly fishing, it being so vast and difficult, really. And there's basically an endless, it's a bottomless well of learning and things to explore. And I think like what we soon after, like me and Jonas started fishing together around about the same time, and then quite quickly we just realized that this was a really big, deep rabbit hole that we jumped into, and just wanted to do more with fly fishing. And I think that's the place where the Hermit Company was born. That we found our own, could call it style or voice in fly fishing, and wanted to share that with other fishermen, and also learn from other people, but at the same time also just show our own way of doing things.
Robin is actually the one who kind of introduced me to fly fishing. I've been spinning reel fishing since I was 6 years old, and then about 10 years ago, Robin took me fly fishing, and we did some casting practices and everything, and then I just realized this is way much cooler and more fun and difficult. So and then I really got into fly tying, so it kind of mixed in beautifully there. So
Okay.
I'm Lars Busekist. I'm based in Copenhagen, and not in Finland. That is for you in the US, Denmark. Career-wise, I have a marketing consultant background. Right now, I'm working with mostly helping companies with their ESGs, try to make them more sustainable. And I first started, I think, fishing for me was, I have a memory of me being maybe 5 or 6 years old, and there was a small. It wasn't a river. It was a very small stream behind my parents' house, and I remember laying on a bridge, looking down in the water, and I just saw this world underneath that just fascinated me. And then I started fishing for sea trout, and we have pretty good sea trout fishing here in Denmark. So that was spinning fishing, and then one day I was fishing with my friends, and another guy came along, and we went back to his house, and he was tying flies. And he wanted to show us, and I was just fascinated with tying small feathers on hooks and that whole thing. So I got my hands on a fly rod and started fishing in a local lake for, I don't know what they're called in English, abborre in Swedish, but what perch, I think. Sorry, perch. Yeah. So I was fishing for perch. That was the only thing available at the time. And then it just has grown since. So it just became so much more fun than spinning fishing, and the levels, the skill levels are quite different. You actually need to be quite efficient casting a fly line in the air, which is quite tricky when there's wind and trees and other obstacles. So it's much more difficult, but it's more fun. It's more rewarding, I think.
And then maybe answering your question regarding what's our claim to fame. And at the moment, I think it's the Palmer that I think also was one of the things that led you to us. And the Palmer is then a handheld fly tying device or vise that basically just was born out of the whole necessity that I think I was tying flies down on a pier on my girlfriend's summer house, and I just realized like my back was killing me and my neck was sore because I had this really traditional fly tying vise that you just screw onto any table, or in my case, in that when I was tying down by the pier on the what's it called, like the handrest of a deck chair, and I think that kind of sparked the idea of like, can we somehow transfer this portable small vise into a more ergonomical and more useful way? And I think then we, as a group, started, coming up with ideas how to do that, and from that, the Palmer was born.
And also, we make fly rods, hand-built bamboo rods called split cane, which is basically how rods were made before fiberglass and carbon fiber came along in, I guess, I don't know, 40s maybe?
Yeah, after the Second World War, the whole fiberglass revolution kind of changed the whole rod industry and the whole.
So we have become quite good and skilled at doing and making those. So we're selling a few of those, and we have some interesting people out there who are now fishing our rods.
Okay.
So that's another rabbit hole we dove into. It takes a lot of you need to make a lot of mistakes before you get sort of decent at it.
Okay.
But we had I was actually stuck in Helsinki. I had a job there. So during Corona, I was actually stuck there. So we instead of sitting home staring at the wall, we went to the workshop and made fly rods. So
okay.
Corona was good for something.
So we'll, like I said, and like you said, with Palmer, that's one of the big things. Before we get into that, I'd also like to just focus a little bit on the company itself. How did you guys decide to go into business and make a company and get into? And correct me if I'm wrong. Initially, as you were saying there, Lars, the bamboo rods were initially what you made and how you established the Hermit Company.
It was actually, it all started when we were fishing in Finland with Robin, and it was really difficult to find or buy permits for the local streams online. So we kind of made this smallish river guide that included local rivers and some of the best rivers and streams in Finland. So we made it to in this kind of pocket book. And the idea was to help a fellow angler and just make life easier for them and for us. And there was also some maps and some information of the river, and Robin drew really nice maps there that we marked almost all the rocks there as well. So it was really thoroughly done, and so that was our first product that kind of walked us into the world of fly fishing in a way, and the market of fly fishing in a way. So it kind of all started there, and sure, we had some T-shirts and everything.
Yeah, it's like what was the first thing you do when you start a company? Hey, let's make some T-shirts.
Yeah.
But I think like it the reason behind it was also just to create a platform for us, because we had the river guide and we had the rods, and I think we're just by nature quite industrious, all of us, and we kind of we needed a way to communicate and get these things that we were enjoying out in the hands to other people. So what better way than founding a company to do exactly that.
I think for me it came together because we launched a film on YouTube, the one you've seen, Jody, and this was basically kind of like a hobby, like a little hobby company at some point, and then we got quite a lot of views on it organically. So we're like, oh, that's kind of cool that there's actually an audience out there that want to see what we're doing. And then we had a famous Hollywood director buying one of our rods. I probably shouldn't mention his name here, but he's a very A-list director. And then we start thinking like, wait a minute. I mean, maybe this can do more than just being something that's a very nice band of brothers hanging out and doing things. So I think that gave me the confidence to go, hey, wait a minute, we should do this. Because it has much more legs than we initially thought ourselves, I think. So,
okay. Well, let's talk about the rods themselves here for a few minutes. They are bamboo, and they're. And again, I'm relatively new to fly fishing myself, brand new to fly tying, but I try to research. I enjoy learning as much as I can. And bamboo, from what I've read, is if you are into fly fishing, a bamboo rod is what you ultimately want to be able to use. I mean, for some folks, that is a bucket list thing. That is something they want to say they have been able to do before they die, is either own or at least use a bamboo rod. Now, tell me about the process of making your rods. How long does it take? What is the easier step of the process? What is the most complicated? Just what are your thoughts on it being manufacturers of these rods?
Well, yeah. Lars, do you want to take it or?
No, I just want to say that I kind of agree with you that when you go into fly fishing, I think the ultimate rod probably is a bamboo rod, and there's a couple of reasons for it. First of all, it's extremely time consuming, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the process. And it's 100% handmade. And then there's just a different feeling when you have an organic product in your hand. It's much more of a tactile feeling that's more than sort of it's better in the sense of catching a fish, because you can do that with basically a string and a stick. So it's really just a feeling, and it feels kind of like an extension of your mind. So for me, I find them extremely precise, that if I want the land to fly in a very tricky place under a couple of bushes where there's a trout, I can do it. I probably feel more modern rods feel more plasticky. So I think that's why maybe bamboo has been on the rise a little bit, and people who really want to go into fly fishing and spend time on it, ultimately they will probably look at a bamboo rod at some point in time. Regarding the process, I think what takes the most time is all the invisible stuff that you don't really see, because you have to prepare columns on bamboo we get from Tonkin in China. The first one we got was 4 meters long, and I think Robin and I, we were walking through Helsinki with that big stick, and then people were looking at us going like, what the hell are you guys doing? And then you start working that, and you have to burn it, and you have to sand the notes down and split it and get the membrane out, and then you split it more, and it's a long process, and you get splinters everywhere in your fingers and your belly button, and that's even before you start planing the strips. So this takes a long time. I don't know if you want to add anything here, Robin, but
yeah, I think like it's a quick comment before jumping back in the process, but also I think what you mentioned, like a lot of people see them almost as luxury products, and in a sense they are. But also I think one of our missions with our rods is, of course, create really top quality rods with a more modern touch, because I think a lot of people have the misconception of bamboo rods being sluggish and slow, and they are naturally slower than carbon fiber rods and fiberglass rods, but you can alter that, and you can enhance and design the rod to behave a little bit more in a more modern sense, and that's what we're doing. Like, our rods are modern bamboo rods. And what that means is that the action of the rods that we make are slightly faster than some of the more vintage style tapers. And a taper is what you call a model of a bamboo rod, and that is basically like the thickness of the rod throughout that dictates the action. So I think like for us, it's really important to get these rods into the hands of people that actually fish them and enjoy them, because for many people the bamboo rods are more like for those really particular sunny, beautiful days down by chalk stream. But for us, we solely fish bamboo rods, and we have a quiver of bamboo rods for different situations and different rivers. And through that, we've kind of had this epiphany that these are actually amazing rods that you can use in any kind of modern situation. Because, the rods have changed, but the river hasn't changed. The trout hasn't changed. The insects hasn't changed. And I think that's something really interesting. And obviously them being completely organic. But I think the process, where kind of Lars left it is that, it takes around 80 hours to create a rod. And that's a lot of work, but it's really enjoyable and rewarding work. And I think some of the most fond memories I have of the first rods that we made with Lars was, one was carrying we were at the time working at the same agency, and we ordered the bamboo to the office, and the receptionist called me one day and so what we have this FedEx courier here with a really, really long package. What do you want me to do with it? And I was like, what? And what was this? And then it kind of hit me oh, yeah, it's the bamboo. And carrying that through the city center of Helsinki was a fond memory. And
we had it in the office for a couple of weeks. We didn't really know how to get.
And our colleagues were showing up.
This big bamboo stick.
And I think the second really fond memory was us because like in a lot of fly fishing and like fly tying that Jonas will talk about later, it's really a self-made sport. Like you can create basically all your equipment yourself, and I think that's a really empowering and a really cool part of fly fishing. And for us, it's been like a visceral part of the whole deal. And I think going to, before we've made all the ovens and tools that we now use to creating our rods, and through the years we've gotten better and better at it. Like in the beginning, we didn't have a way to temper the bamboo, so we went to the local pizza shop and asked the guy if we could bake the rod sections in his oven, and he agreed to it. And a couple of the first rods we made were actually baked in a local pizza shop, which was really cool.
Did he just say
remember the whole place smelled like bamboo?
Yeah.
But didn't he say something like, "Yeah, sure, you can use it if you just buy enough pizzas or something"?
Yeah. So we would order a pie, and then while he was baking our rods, we would have pizza. Yeah.
But maybe
Nowadays,
back to the process. Sorry.
Yeah. Nowadays we have a different. We've evolved, and also the volume and kind of the control that we need in making the rods. We've now evolved into not making it in a pizza oven, but yeah, that was a cool part of the journey.
And a common misbelief is that bamboo rods are like sensitive and they will break easily, which is not true. I mean, they can bend like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And which is kind of cool. When you have a big fish on, then it kind of bends really nicely, and it won't break as long as you don't break it. And the beauty of it is that you can always fix it. I mean, we had a couple of rods that for some different reasons have broke. We have the only human, we can step on rods and so on. So after that, we just bring it to the shop and come slightly shorter, but then it's like a new rod again. So we can fix them too. So we don't have to order in nowadays rods like fiberglass. So you have to always order from the manufacturer the second or the first tippet or whatever. So that's the beauty of it as well. So it can be fixed.
Okay.
But also going back to the process, I think after preparing the bamboo for planing, which takes quite a long time, and then you have to plane it, and we're working with a precision less than a hair, and we have different planing forms for it. We have a stainless steel form where we can set it to a precision 0.002 millimeter. So it's super precise. And then there's a lot of planing, and that takes a lot of time, and you have to measure it all the time, because you use basically 6 strips that you glue together in a hexagon. And once you have that, then there's some more sanding and getting the glue off. Then there's putting on the cork, which we get from Portugal. And that's actually a really fun part, to shape the handle. I think we have worked with different shapes and sizes, and now we kind of know what we like and what fits the hand really well. And then we're putting on the reel seats. We have gotten some really nice wood from northern Finland up in Lapland. That was really nice, so we have used that for the reel seat. And then there's the putting on the guides. We use we try different things, but now we have chosen the most difficult one, which is white silk that turns transparent when you varnish it. It looks absolutely beautiful, but it has been such a difficult journey to get it absolutely right, because it doesn't always get transparent. So we have tried many different ways, but I think we're there now. And then there's the varnishing part, which is like, you don't want any dust on there, and you don't want to brush it. So we dip them in a big tube. And then we do that multiple times until the varnish is absolutely spotless and perfect. So it's, as Robin says, it's about 80 hours per rod.
Okay. And as far as the actual bamboo that you get there from China, about how many rods can you get out of each piece of bamboo? Or is it more of a process of, as you strip it down into these individual 6 strips, some may come from one piece of bamboo, others may come from another piece? What's the process would that look like?
Actually, we try not to mix them. So we try, when we build a rod, we always make sure it comes from the same column, just to be sure, because the columns are an organic material and they behave slightly different. But so we take a pride in making only the same, using only the same column for each rod.
Okay.
But it depends on the size. If you make a slightly longer rods, you use up more bamboo. And in the beginning, we ruined quite a few strips, I think, by not splitting it right or planing them wrong. So I don't know, how much are we getting out of a column now, Robin?
I think, like, I was trying to remember, but I think it's now, when we are trying to stick to the single column style, that I think for us, we feel like we get the most persistent quality. I think we get about I think we calculate them in sections. So basically, most of our rods are 2-piece. So it's like we need to make 2 6-strip sections. So I think we get about 4 to 5 rods from one column.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as with the process, do you guys pretty much just one of you makes each rod, or do you do it more of an assembly line type of format where one of you focuses on this aspect of the rod and another works on the next step of the rod? Or is it more of Lars does this one from start to finish, Jonas does this one start to finish, Robin this one start to finish? How does that process look?
It's usually an assembly line. I think both of us really obviously know the whole process, but I think, like, for us, it's also quality time spent together in the workshop. So we mix and match, and I think that's a great way of doing quality control, because there's 2 people working on the same rod, and that makes it easy to, if the other one gets tired, or the other one, just those human mistakes that happens when you're alone working on something. and sometimes you get tired, or you might, you might let something slide. But when there's two of us, which both are in our own sense perfectionists, then we kind of like, we keep each other in check, that the quality stays as good as possible. So, but yeah, we spend most of the time working on, we have every time we meet up to make more rods, we have a certain work list or a certain set of rods that we want to complete. And then, we try to be smart about it. We make all the certain sections that need to look and be the same together, and then go on to the next stage, and so on and so forth. So it's very much a 50-50 process.
Okay. And then this will be my last question about the rods before we jump into the Palmer. But as far as the rods, if somebody wanted to order one from you guys, would they need to contact you about what exactly they want and have it ordered and then you would make it? Or do you guys try to have some on hand so that if there's a particular length or type that somebody wants, that you can go ahead and have it shipped out? What does that process look like for ordering one from you?
Well, right now we're sold out, unfortunately. Well, maybe it's good for us, but so if someone wants to order, we don't build rods people want. We build rods that we have perfected ourselves. And as Robin mentioned, we have a selection of different rods for different situations, and those rods we've basically improved them over time, all the time. We're changing a little bit here, a little bit there. So I think they're pretty much pretty perfect right now, and we have 4 of those, and we have a 5th one in the making that we're experimenting with. So that's basically what we do. And I know other people, you can basically order a rod with them and say, I want a Gillum or something, and they will make it for you. But as we are making, modern bamboo rods, we're changing sort of the old sluggish bamboo feeling to a much more modern feeling, and that we have rods for. So it's our own taper and own making.
Okay.
And also
and if they order, they can order on our website. So
yeah, you can check out the models that we offer on our website, and I think it's also in the sense of our, like Lars said, like the modern way is that also that we want to sell them in a modern way. So if you would go into a conventional fishing shop, they would have different models for with different weight classes or styles, so that it's easy to pick out which one would fit you best. And I think that also takes out some of the guesswork for our potential clients, is that they go on our site and read up on the different rods that we offer, and then pick one that, if they are prone to mostly doing streamer fishing, then there's a streamer rod on there that we do, and then something more in a more traditional all-arounder, good for wet flies and dry flies, or then like a purely dry fly rod. So I think it's just making it slightly easier for our clients. And then also, like Lars said, like we've experienced with numerous tapers from old classics and like really beautiful rods, but still made them our own in style.
And I think, and also we do something slightly different. I think we're very sort of focused on the wind, because when you're out there, there's always some kind of breeze. And 1 cubic meter of air actually weighs almost 3 kilos. So when you start thinking about the force of that's a tremendous force on your line and leader and rod. So basically we build our rods for different conditions. So if you are in a slightly bigger river and it's slightly windy, you would need a certain rod. If you're in a small shark stream in England, you would need a different rod with less wind. So we're very sort of wind focused what you need, because a lot of fly fishing is waving a line in the air, hoping it will land where you want it to.
I got you. All right, and so let's just go ahead and move into the Palmer now. As I mentioned earlier, this is how I discovered you guys when I was looking into what type of fly tying equipment I was going to buy to get into the hobby. And I discovered the Hermit, or the Palmer, that you guys make there at Hermit. Tell me, and for folks that might be watching this on YouTube that skipped the first part, just skipped straight to this section about the Palmer. What is the Palmer, and how did it come into existence?
Well, I think the main idea was to not to limit the fly tire, more like give opportunity to tie anywhere and anytime. So it's a small, nice, cool device that kind of allows the fly tire to, especially because we do a lot of fishing in Lapland, in Swedish Lapland, and as you saw in the film Charred, we kind of came up with this fly there that really worked for the Arctic char. So without the Palmer with us, pretty sure it wouldn't be possible because they only were eating these small mosquitoes. So we need to have a fly tying vise with us, and Palmer did the trick. So yeah, I think that's like to make it more convenient and comfortable for a fellow angler and easy.
Yeah,
anyway.
and I think just kind of challenging the norm of fly tying, which is the conventional way is obviously sitting by a desk on a conventional fly tying vise, which is it's great. It works. It's that's how most people tie their flies, and I think the Palmer doesn't necessarily have to be a vise that replaces that, but it's an extension to your toolkit as an angler. And I think what we really wanted to accomplish with the Palmer was to broaden the places and the situations where you would like to be able to tie flies, but you normally couldn't. And I think even among the four of us, we have very different styles of tying flies, where and when. But for example, for me, for me, it's very spontaneous. I get this kind of jolt of inspiration, like now I want to tie flies. And now with the Palmer, I have this small little pouch with fly tying materials and hooks and a Palmer in there that I can just whip out, at home, sitting on the couch with the, sitting there with the missus watching TV and tying a couple flies there, or even, on the bus or on the train going somewhere. Or then, like Jonas said, like, we're out there initially in the wilderness fishing. And even though, like it's always, I feel that's always the problem. You never have enough flies or just the right size or something.
And it's usually the really small black fly that you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. So having that little kit with you makes it possible for you to being even more prepared to whatever kind of fishing situation you might find yourself in.
And yeah, I think because the most important thing for angler is to be observant and to see what bugs are out there and flying and what the fish might be eating on. So it's the perfect tool for matching the hatch. So which means that you basically just you observe what the fish are eating and then you try to imitate it. So it's a perfect tool for that. And we actually even, I have to say this, we were watching this old Lee Wolf video where he ties these flies by hands. Well, there's sure bigger flies, but anyway, and then we actually tried that as well. Like in the beginning, we were trying to tie flies by a river by our own hands, but then we just came to this conclusion that it's years of practice. It's years and years of practice, and especially with smaller hooks like 14, which is kind of small hook. So it's kind of tricky. So then we wanted this device that you can, it's easy and it's light and it holds the hook securely. So it's that was like one of our goals because there's a lot of vices out there, which especially if they're really cheap, the jaw is not that good. So if I can give one advice to a novice fly tyer, spend that extra $50 or euros or even $100 to a proper vise, because it will pay off and it will last you longer and be more usage. So that was like one of the most important things, that it's safe. And yeah.
Also, I think coming back to your question, what's our claim to fame? I think we're also a little bit mad scientists. So when we see something not working, or we see Lee Wolf tying a fly by the riverside, and I think they did that in Scotland as well. They were sitting tying flies by the salmon rivers. We're kind of not afraid to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe there's a better way of doing this. So we start putting a lot of work in it. We're very dedicated and very detail oriented. So it's gonna be pretty great whenever we find something. So we're a little bit with the Palmer, and also with the bamboo rods were kind of something everyone had, way back. But now we're modernizing them and making them kind of relevant again. And the same with the fly tying device. And we also have a secret project going on with the university. I don't know if I can talk about it here, but we have different things in the pipeline that we think, wait a minute, this can be done better. So why not?
Okay.
So maybe I think that's also answering a little bit of our claim to fame.
Okay. Now with the Palmer, how long ago did you guys first have this idea? And then from that point to your initial, I guess, prototype, the first one that you guys made that I'm sure you had to change and modify and tweak many times before you were satisfied with it. What kind of a time frame and process did that go through?
I think the first prototype was 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
yeah. And I think the first one, it was all born from that same anecdote that I was sitting by a chair tying flies, and then we had a group chat, and we started throwing ideas how we could do this, like make a mobile device. And I think it's fun. It like you said, it went through many iterations. The first one was called the fly repeater. It looked like a handle from a Winchester, and we were thinking we could just whip out flies with it, but it didn't really work. And I think there were cardboard and wooden models, numerous ones. And I think, like any kind of design process, it just took time to find the right kind of shape and form for it. But then once, I think, like Lars also said, like once we find these themes or these ideas, that we start obsessing about them. So once the actual the seed of the idea was planted, I think it didn't take that long. I think it was 6 months, and we were already producing the first versions.
Yeah. The wheels rolled really quickly, and because it's easy with these guys, because we kind of understand, we have the same kind of way of thinking things, and when we try for the goal, then it's full throttle. We don't we just give our all time to it, which kind of hard for our girlfriends for a while, but luckily they understood. So we were lucky also that we have all these. We had the 3D model at some point. And so we could easily like see the real product quite fast and what to change, and I think the most difficult part was with the small things like screws and bolts and that kind of stuff, but that was the only thing that took us the most time, I think.
But I think like also with like the bamboo rods, like we made the first version that we were happy with, but then we were really really keen on listening to our clients that were buying the first ones, and then we made iterations on that, made it slightly better, now it has kind of landed in its more kind of final form. There's some small things, but nothing like really major, not necessarily anything that the user now would even notice, but it's for us who spent so much time with it that just want to perfect it and keep enhancing it.
And as Robin said, we're listening to the customer. And like when we released Palmer 1.0, then one of our customers said that it's quite hard to tie if you're left-handed. So then we went back to the drawing board and decided to make the front bolt a little bit thinner, not that big. So it's kind of easier to tie with your left hand now. So it can be done with your left hand as well now. So
and also we have the luxury of having a workshop. So
yeah.
we have a lab where we can experiment. That helps a lot. I don't know how many other people have it, but it's a great thing to have.
Yeah. I like to say that you can't buy happiness, but you can rent the workshop.
Well, the majority of the audience just listens. They don't watch the YouTube video for one reason or the other. So I know we are recording this on video, but if you would walk me and the listeners and even the viewers through the different parts of a palmer.
It's basically a very, let's say, like traditional fly tying wise jaw, which we are really proud of. It's because it's really secure and strong, and then it's a handle that fits into the depth of your palm, and the shape of the handle. It's almost like an exaggerated knife handle. So, and the shape of it basically came from like maneuvering your fingers around the fly without straining your wrist or your forearm or your hands. And it basically consists of three main parts. So it's the jaw, the handle, and then there's a thread lock, which is one of the main things that I think like main benefits of tying with the palmer compared to just tying in hand is that you can lock down the thread while you're tying, put down the palmer and the incomplete fly, and prepare some tying material, and then pick it up again and keep tying. I think that's one of the best features actually, which is usually overlooked. But it's basically those three.
Yeah, the thread lock keeps the tying thread in this kind of tension taut. So
Yeah.
So the fly won't break down or while you take a break or you get some material. So that's the whole idea of that.
And then a lot of people have been, when they first hear of the palmer, they the first thought is like, but I can't tie a fly with one hand, and that's a natural thought. But I think when you see the pictures or you see a video of someone tying with a palmer, you realize that it's all you do is basically you use one or two fingers to actually just keep the palmer in your hand, but you still your left hand, if you're right-handed, your left hand, you still have your index finger, even your middle finger and your thumb to hold on to materials when you're tying with letting the bobbin spin with your right hand. And I think when people see that or actually get to experience tying with the palmer, that's the main revelation you have, that you're tying with 1.5 hands.
Yeah. And it's quite difficult to explain it, but you can check our YouTube channel where there's a really nice clip where Robin was in Italy at the time, and he was tying by this really beautiful creek. So in that video, you can see all the whole process of tying a fly using a palmer vise.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll put links to your YouTube channel and the website in the show notes for folks that are wanting to go and see that. I've already watched most of them, if not all of the videos that you guys have put up. And just going back to what you say about the thread lock, for folks that are even the least familiar with fly tying, they've watched somebody do it. Having that thread lock is comparable, I guess you would say, with if you're using the bobbin, you just let the bobbin hang down, and the weight from the bobbin keeps the tension. But because you don't have that, if you set it down with the palmer, that thread lock is necessary to keep the fly from coming apart, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, sure, you can do a half hitch, like a knot there as well. But I think it's the most easiest and most convenient way is just to pull it there and then give it a wrap and then put it down. So it's really simple for you to continue as well, especially with small flies. If you don't want some bulk to the front or to the body section, so that's why you try to avoid these knots here and there. So I think that's the easiest way of doing it with the thread lock.
Okay. And as far as the palmer goes with the use of it, how long do people that have bought these that you've heard from or talked to, how long do they say it typically takes them to get adjusted to holding the palmer and being able to manipulate those other fingers to still be able to tie flies. Is it a relatively quick process?
I think the beauty of it, like one of the most beautiful things of the Palmer is that even the seasoned tyer or a person who has tied for 20 to 40 years, it kind of brings back the pleasure of learning to tie again, because it's a little bit different. Obviously, when you try something with a conventional vise. So I think that is like one of the best comments we had from like seasoned tyers, that you still get these sensations of like success in a different way than the way you used to have when we were just starting tying. So that's like one of the things. And for how long? Well, it sure depends on the tyer's experience.
But I think we're around like 10 flies. So it's like 10 flies, and you start, finding the small adjustments. And I think like Jonas said, like we have some of the people that have gotten the Palmer, which are really seasoned, but then also the really fun part, we have a couple that actually started, like their first vise is the Palmer. So they don't know anything else except the Palmer, which I think is really cool. So I think it's just and of course it's a very subjective subject. For some it might take more, for some it might feel really natural real quick, but it's the kind of consensus and most of the feedback is it's surprisingly quick. So it's a handful of flies, and then you start getting the hang of it, and then the more you do, the more second nature it starts feeling.
Yeah, and the good thing about the Palmer is that you can the jaw is so good that you can tie different size hooks from 2 to 16, 18, like big streamer hooks to small dry flies. And like even clink hammers, like the parachute style, can be done with the Palmer. We actually gave one to Hans van Klinken, the inventor of the clink hammer, and he gave us some feedback. And I think he tied during a weekend around 200 clink hammers.
200 clink hammers on it, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, obviously he's the inventor of the fly, so he knows how to do it pretty fast. But still, so that's kind of reference. Like, once you get to it, it's really fun and easy to tie with it.
Okay, and let's talk about the materials that it's made out of. Is it a solid metal, all metal vise?
Yeah, it's a steel jaw. Really, it's a tempered steel jaw, so it's really strong, and it's coated with this kind of erosion protective material. We haven't yet been able to make a pure stainless steel, but like any kind of knife or any kind of tool, it comes with a protective coating. Yeah. And then we ask our users to now and then kind of give it a little bit of a brush up, but that's the only part. And then the handle is then aluminum, anodized aluminum handle, and then all the bolts and screws are stainless steel. So it should last you a very long time.
Okay, so for folks that are hiking into wherever they're wanting to fish, it's not that much extra weight because it is that aluminum.
Yeah, so exactly. I think it weighs down right now. It's like under 80 grams, so it's not going to break your scale. Yeah,
right.
And as you said, it's really good for backpackers and hikers. We have a lot of customers from Canada and from the States as well who do a lot of fat bike riding, and they go fishing riding their bikes, and they take only one backpack, and so they're really happy with it, that it's easy to pack and weighs nothing. 80-90 grams, especially the ultralight guys as well, and girls. So.
Okay, and they are made, correct me if I'm wrong, they are made there in Finland.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And if somebody wanted to buy one, I know when I was initially started emailing you guys, you don't have anybody here in the States that distributes them yet. But
no, not at the moment. But I'm pretty sure we had a shop in Vancouver Island, the Northern Blaze fly. They had it for a while, but I'm pretty sure they're all sold out now. So yeah, we don't have a retailer at the States right now.
Okay, but they could order from you guys, direct from you if they wanted to, right? Okay. And do you have any in stock now? I know back at Christmas when I was first looking at them, I think I found you directed me to one website that was the only place that had any in stock at the time.
Yeah. It was in Finland, and yeah, I'm not sure if they still have it, but yeah, we were sold out for a while because we have a lot of customers, like a lot of shops around.
Yeah, we have our major main retailer is in Italy, and then we had we've been lucky. A lot of people from the States and Canada have been ordering them from us directly, and now we have some stock now. So now they're actually available through our website at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal. And I know it's been mentioned several times, but the film Charred. Let's just talk about that for a few minutes before we move into the last segment, where I'm just asking you guys questions to let the audience see what they have in similarity with you guys. What they have in common with you guys as far as interest and knowledge. But the film Charred is about you guys pursuing a specific species. And just tell me about the film. It's about a 20-minute film. Folks can watch on YouTube. Again, I'll put a link to it here in the show notes. But tell us about the film, what it is, what you're trying to catch, and how you came up with that idea of filming the process.
Right.
Well,
I think it started with us. If you're not familiar with char, it's probably one of the most beautiful fish, and they live in these very remote areas of the Nordic and also in the U.S. And Canada, a bit in Greenland and stuff. So they're in very, very remote, barren lands, and then you have these incredible, beautiful colored fish that look like they're taken from some tropic area. So it became kind of a fascination for us to try to catch him. And we went on a couple of trips and absolutely failed miserably. And I think that just spurred us on. We're like, we really need to catch one of these. So we went all in, and we even built, Robin, you built our own tent, and we had a weather station, and we made.
We weren't meaning anything but
tents. We went all in to try to catch him, and then when we came out there, of course, it never goes as you plan. So the first couple of days was super frustrating, and we didn't catch anything. They were there and they didn't want to eat. We tried all kinds of flies and everything we read and heard, nothing worked. And at some point, I think we cracked the code and we dialed in what they were eating, and that's when the Palmer came in hand, and that's when we start catching fish. And of course, it was a big relief to actually finally catch those things after trying so hard. But that was basically our mission. I think we failed for 3 years before actually cracking the code.
I think the film
in terms. Sorry.
No, just go ahead, Lars.
No, and in terms of making the film, we kind of wanted to document it. I think it started out as kind of a selfish project that we thought it would be nice to have, so we could look at it and kind of revisit that trip, in the future. So we kind of planned how to shoot it, and Robin and I, we both have film backgrounds and worked with commercials and documentaries and films for companies and stuff. So we know a little bit about filming. So it wasn't that hard to kind of put it into a framework and say, this is how we're going to shoot it. So we just did it. And then it became, I think it became a lot better than we thought, because it was just a personal project, but then it became more of a thing on its own.
Yeah, something that started as a home video or like a trip video turned into this film. And I think that also kind of sparked, like all of our ideas, a new arena for us to explore. And I think we're in the finishing stages of finishing an equivalent film like Charred from last summer's trip that we in the same kind of hermit style have been working on. It's it's a nice double-edged sword. It's something that we get to share with other people, our way of doing things, but also for us, just this really valuable memories that we get to cherish and hold on to for a little bit longer by actually documenting it. And yeah.
And I think the Charred is a like a beautiful video of learning and like experience, because in fly fishing you always learn. You think you know something, but then then all of a sudden you don't. So it was kind of beautiful learning experience for us, and how difficult catching Arctic char can be. And then we were really surprised like how positive feedback the film got, and then we kind of boosted up to do more. And sure, there were some comments and people think like, hey, you should have done this, you should have Euronymph, or you should have used this and that. But yeah, I guess you could have caught more fish, but I think that's the Hermit way, in a way, that we don't usually do things the easy way. we we're like stubborn in that way. So I think because we were only using like classic dry flies or classic wet flies to catch the fish. So I think that's like one of the things then. And as Robin said, luckily we had the Palmer with us, so we finally figured out what they were eating, so which can be found from the film.
Okay. And
they were hard to catch. I mean, they were super picky.
It's an apex predator. That's the thing of Arctic char. It's an apex predator that it's not the local stocked brown trout. It's it knows what it wants and when, and it has a tight schedule when it eats what and when it eats this. So it's really interesting to learn the rhythm of the fish and the whole. I think it was like when all things clicked, then we started catching fish. It was like when the moon was in the right position.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of the Arctic char, that it's really difficult, but it's so much fun and rewarding.
okay. And I know when I looked this morning before we started our interview, there were over 35,000 views for the video. And I guess based on the sounds of it, can we be looking forward to this becoming a series of videos following each trip that you guys go on?
Yeah,
That's the plan.
that's the plan. and we also have a smaller projects coming up in the local rivers and the local river keepers here in Finland as well. So we kind of have this the Hermit Company film these bigger projects, and we also film like smaller projects as well here in Finland.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm looking
I
forward
think we
to
aim
it.
for going every summer. That's our most precious time, that we take some time off in July, and then we go, all of us, and hopefully that will become content from now on and until we don't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
At least we have more films in the pipeline as well.
Okay.
We're planning more.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And I'll go ahead and plant a bug. If you guys ever come here to the U.S. on one of your summer trips, I know I'm not in Alabama, but something that might be worth looking into is the Alabama Bass Slam, because that time of year, it's a warm water fish, but they're in streams and rivers, and and not really that well known, and some of them are just gorgeous. And one of the challenges is to try and catch them all in one day, which is very hard to do because you have to do so much traveling, from what I understand.
Right.
But I just figured I'd plant that seed. That's something I'd like to see somebody do. But now I know, Jonas, you mentioned the Hermit Way. Now go ahead and explain. And this is something I meant to ask you guys to start with. How did you come up with the name for the company, and what's the story behind the logo that you guys use?
I think the name is big, like we don't like other people. No, I'm just kidding. no, but I think like I think the main love and also the reason why our summer trips, because we do as much fishing as we can each year. But like Lars mentioned, we have this 1 week of the year, because obviously Lars is in Denmark, and we all are grown-ups and have our lives of our own, and it's hard to get the whole group together. But that's why we really emphasize that we have that one big trip each summer that we get together and go out fishing. And I think like the name Hermit came from basically, I think for a lot of people, just the dreams to go out there in the wilderness where no one else has been, or we go out for a week and we don't see anybody else. And I think that just somehow that name Hermit kind of resonated with that. But I think also tapping into our kind of claim to fame, and that we do things differently and kind of like to challenge things. And I think also hermits in an ocean kind of are odd birds in society, maybe in a certain sense. So it kind of reflects nicely on what we do and the way we do things. So I think that's where the name came from. And then the logo is basically an illustration I made. I think like there's two logos out there. One is I think the one that you can see now on the website, which is this arrow hook, which is basically we call it the Bowcast logo, which is basically just a spin on the casting style, where you load your rod by holding onto the fly and then projecting the fly like shooting an arrow onto a very specific spot, which is sometimes can be a very efficient way of getting your fly.
And the only way
getting your fly to a specific spot. If let's say you're crouching under some bushes and you can't really get a backcast or a spay in there. So I think that's where that name came from. And then the original logo is this creeping, or this kind of crouching angler dressed in a wolf fur, basically just emphasizing the stealth and kind of like the hunting aspect of fishing. I think like that's what, for me at least, makes fly fishing very different from, let's say, spin fishing. And someone will probably correct me because I'm wrong, but I feel fly fishing is much more like hunting, where you kind of know where your game is, and you can kind of predict where it might be lying and hiding, and then you come up with a strategy of getting to it and presenting your fly to that fish.
Especially when fishing for trout. Yeah. I think it's like hunting for trout. It's really important, and it's something that a lot of people don't kind of understand, that you have to be stealthy and mind your cast and your false casts and everything. That if you get the mindset that you're hunting for the trout, then I'm pretty sure you will success more than you just walking into a river and start chucking something somewhere, probably spook all the fish and catch nothing, or luckily one. So I think that's the hunting aspect what has been there since day one. So that was the first logo was all about. And the name, we had a couple of different names before. I think there was Cast and Fire or something like that. Yeah, that was the first one. But then we decided like we can do better, and then we came up with the Hermit. And I think like one of the ideas there was that, because fly fishing it's a business. It's a huge business that evolves all the time, and everything gets better and more easier and more evolved. You got these UV glues and whatever. I mean, it's all about the marketing, and when that happens, these old things, like they got forgotten. We forget them, and but they're still very valid and good things how you can fish. So we kind of imagined ourselves like being these kind of hermits of the like now going fly fishing industry and business, that we're still gonna kind of want to stay there, where like we kind of like the old lore of fly fishing in a way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good things still in the old way of doing things, but then we kind of want to bring that into modern context. So yeah.
Okay. Also, when you look it up, I think Hermit means mountain man.
Yeah, and we go to the
So
mountain.
we like it
every
out
year.
there. So
Yeah.
it kind of
Okay.
fits, and it looks good too. We come from a graphic background a little bit too, so
Okay.
it's nice when you spell it out.
Well, that's been a very informative conversation. And the last segment that I like to do with all my guests, if you guys still have time, we'll go ahead and
Sure.
jump into this. It's kind of like the game 20 questions, but it's not 20 questions. It is just about 10 or so. But I have several that I ask everybody that are the same. And then what I'm going to do is let you guys go ahead and pick 3 numbers apiece to round out the last of the 10 questions that you get asked. So we'll go ahead and I guess we'll go with Lars first. What 3 numbers between 1 and 15?
1 and 10. 3, 5, 7.
Okay. Robin.
6, 8, 2.
Okay. And then Jones.
That's
Good luck.
And then you can get. It's perfectly fine to get the same numbers as if you want.
Was it 1 between 20 or 1 and 15 or
Between 1 and 15.
15? Okay. Well, I'll say 15, 8, and 1.
Okay.
Lucky numbers.
Well, there's Kobe Bryant's number, so I have to carry that one.
All right, so we'll start with these first, and you can just we can just kind of go in turn with answering them. The first off is, what is your favorite fly to tie? What is your favorite pattern to tie?
Was it
So we all answer?
Yeah. This will be for everybody, and we can just whoever wants to go first, just have at it, and then I'll let you know when we're going into the individual questions. But the first question is, what is your favorite fly pattern to tie?
I'm gonna say, like it's a difficult question because there are quite a few, but I think I will say the Adams dry fly, the Adams, for a reason that I think it's the first dry fly that I ever have tied, and it's just so simple and beautiful and effective. So I think there's a lot of good things that are happening there. A lot of old materials, and not that much. It's not a fancy fly, but it still works. I think that's why I like the Adams and tying it.
I would say it's a difficult question because I think you tie what you like to fish. So if you mean what you like to tie in terms of challenges, that's a different question. But we have invented our own fly we call a shock Norris, and it's basically a wicket, which is a caddisfly, but it has a little shock on it. For me, I love fishing it, and it has worked on all the trips, so I like that one. And once you get it dialed in, it's quite quick to do it. And it was invented by what's his name, Stefan Larsson.
Yeah.
Swedish professional fly tyer.
So yeah, it's basically the wicked is like X caddis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that pattern, Jody, but it's like X caddis, like emerger caddis pattern, and so it's we just added the nymphal shock there. So
Okay.
the pattern that the Lars is calling the shock Norris.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what I enjoy tying the most is probably Goddard caddis. For me, it's like a miniature plane because it's a bit painful to tie as there's like a lot of deer hair going on there. But I really like the shaping stages of it, and also fishing it because it's you can fish it. It being a dry fly, it floats like a cork. It's really fun to fish it in even faster waters and see it staying on the surface. And for me, having a fish come out of that slightly faster rapid, getting your dry fly is really cool.
Okay. And then the next question for all of you is, what location in nature have you most enjoyed? I know for the guests I interview here in the States, it's the questions actually worded with favorite state or national park, or just even outdoor space in general, or even a museum that's dedicated to the outdoors. What is one that really sticks out in mind to you as the favorite that you've been able to experience?
It's a good question.
I'd
So
say, like, was it like where the fish or in space general?
General.
Just in general, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with small forest creek when there's nobody in there, just you and the birds and the animals and the fish and the water. I think that's the best therapy you can get, and the voices of the city kind of dial down, and you get your own space there, and you get to enjoy the nature and hopefully catch some fish. So yeah, I'll go with small forest creek.
I'll go with all along the coast of Finland. We have a vast archipelago. So these small islands, really rocky, barren, but for me they're immensely beautiful. And this is not it's not really connected to fishing, but for me, just being able to, because in Finland we have this it's called every man's right. So if there's a place where no one has officially like built a house or they own the land, it's state owned, you're allowed to go there. You can even camp and pick berries and so on and so forth. So for me is just going out into the along the coast and exploring like small islands out in the archipelago and going out there, in a kayak and setting up camp for a night. Just having a whole island for yourself for one night is some of the best time I think I can spend outdoors.
I would say mountain streams. I had the pleasure of being in Brook Range, Alaska, which was extremely beautiful. You have very sort of high snow-covered mountains, and you have beautiful rivers kind of running. You have bears, wolves, caribou, all kind of ospreys and what have you. So I find that extremely beautiful.
Okay.
And you love fishing for grayling, right, Lars?
Well, you're touching on something touchy right there, my friend. I was actually in Alaska for 5 weeks, just with a foldable canoe and surviving three river systems, and all we could eat were graylings. So I cannot eat another one of those if I'm dependent on it.
And they're really abundant in the northern Lapland, so they're really easy to catch there. So it's a beautiful fish and a good sport fish, but we're mostly looking for trout there. But and it's beautiful and it's good eating as well, grayling. But I think Lars had enough of it back in Alaska.
Well, is it funny enough you say that, because the next question is a food question. So whenever you guys go out on one of your fishing trips, if it's just a day trip, or it doesn't have to be a fishing trip, anything outdoors, hiking, kayaking, canoeing, what is a food or a snack that you feel you have to take with you on every trip?
I think energy bars are so good these days, and there's so many options, and they come with protein and all kind of stuff. And I think when you're out there, you're spending a lot of energy. You really need that extra boost. So whether it's a Cliff Bar or whatever, I'll take one of those.
I'm pretty sure I know what Robin's gonna say, but go ahead.
Turmat.
Well, that too, but
no, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of I'm the, you could say, like the ultralight dude in the bunch. I get a lot of stick for it, and I don't mind. But for me,
he even cuts his toothbrushes to make small.
Yeah. But I think just for me, it's convenience, and I think like for me, the main event being outdoors is being outdoors. So for me, it's like an army ration. So it's like just those kind of like what's called like a hot. You just add water to these pouches. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with coffee. Because-
Ooh, I agree on that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
Good
just
one.
it's just something that it tastes different when it's made in the like old school way in this like pan, and you just pour the coffee in and let it boil for a while, and then when you cook it by or inside of a campfire, it just tastes differently. And when you're waiting for the evening hatch, taking a break, then you just need a hot cup of joe, and then you're ready to go.
Okay.
I take my
Yeah.
energy back. I agree on the coffee, actually.
You can't take it back. You
Yeah.
already
Oh,
said it.
Oh, you're gonna have the energy bar, dude.
What is something that if you have an outdoor bucket list, or if you don't, what would be the item on a bucket list related to the outdoors that you are most interested in doing?
And it can be anything.
It can be anything related to the outdoors.
I think for me, like we've been watching a lot of the old Lee Wolf films or those vintage fly fishing films. And I think like getting even like flying in somewhere on a bush plane, probably somewhere in the British Columbia, Alaska, and just for us, like we have really beautiful, pristine wilderness here up in Scandinavia. But I think like there's a certain exotic twist to what we've seen in those old films, and kind of a certain fantasy that still exists out there. And I think being able to experience that once before kicking the bucket would be amazing.
You're talking about the
Minipee.
yeah, Minipee and the brook trout.
Yeah.
There, yeah. I hear you.
I have this kind of perverse idea of going on a horseback somewhere, even though I've been kicked off horses when I was a kid, so I don't really trust them.
Like in Yellowstone, they fish by their horseback there. So you want to be the Yellowstone dude?
Either that or Mongolia, I don't know, but just the idea of traveling on a horseback somewhere and going fishing sounds really alluring to me.
Okay.
I like that. I like that, Lars.
You can't have it.
I can't say no. Yeah, you didn't get the coffee, so I don't get the horses. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm okay. Okay, it's a deal. I'm gonna say to experience English chalk stream by like really experience it, like spending a good month there or something, just to really get to the roots of fly fishing, because that's basically where it all started. If we are kind of started, but like all this dry fly fishing and wet fly fishing, it started from the Great Britain and from Wales and from Scotland and Ireland. So just kind of experience the atmosphere there and the beautiful streams and the beautiful taking care of riversides, and just having a midday tea somewhere at the local pub and chatting with the elder gentlemen about the fishing, and we really live the life for a while and try to understand that why it has changed so radically till this day.
Okay. And I'm going to actually use yours to move into this next question. And that is, what is an outdoor slang term that you think if you used it to somebody not familiar with the hobby or the outdoors that you're referring to, you'd have to tell them what it means? And before you go into your own, I know you guys have mentioned a couple of times a chalk stream. Now, a lot of my listeners might not know what a chalk stream is. I guess let's start with what is a chalk stream, and then you can go into your own terms that you think you would need to explain to somebody.
You want to go?
Stripper.
Okay.
That is.
We were talking about the chalk stream.
Oh, the chalk. Sorry. Oh yeah. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
You're the one who wanted Jonas, so this is your dream, man.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So, well, chalk stream, it's it's really like gin clear water. And well, the whole process of why it's so clear and where the water comes from, it's a kind of long explanation. But I think when somebody talks about chalk stream, it means this kind of really nice like sand-based area with gin clear water that is usually fished. The fish are really difficult, and they usually are fished by this really tiny, or well, really like good imitations of the local flies. In chalk stream, you really have to know what you're doing, like when and where to cast and what to present for the fish. So in one word, chalk stream means gin clear water with like this kind of a sand-based area. But I think that the best, you can just Google it. So I think there's a better explanation for that. But that's the way I think that's the easiest way of saying it.
Okay. All right. Well, now that we've had that explained, let's go ahead and jump over here to Robin, since he was so quick to jump into his slang term.
Well, it's not as much a slang term, but it's just, I think through rod building. Sorry, collect yourself. No, but it's just we found with Lars that there's a lot of funny words when it comes to rod building, and some of the parts of making these fishing rods that we were just like dumbfounded but when we read them. But there's first like the one that I'm childish, and I find that the word stripper, when you don't remember who you're talking with, then they don't know, they assume something else, but the stripper is actually the first guide on your fishing rod, which you strip the line through. And I for some reason I find that funny.
Well, I can see how some conversations would go with people who don't fish.
Yeah.
So I can agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But Lars, Jonas, what have you got?
It's about the same. I think when you're talking about building rods, I think a lot of people start looking at you funny and start asking, "Wait, what are you talking about here?" So, and I think we had a lot of friends coming by the rod workshop, and they always crack stupid jokes. So I think they'll be probably around that subject.
Okay.
Like fighting butt.
Funny, you said butt. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, like that's the part of the rod that.
Yeah, the most bottom part. If you have a rod where you need to kind of steady it by shoving it into your body or your hip, then you add a fighting butt on the end of the reel seat, so it's more comfortable to press that, like when you're breaking a larger fish, breaking it, slowing it down. But like, what's the slang? Like, I think that's a good question. I think it's more difficult in English because I think Finnish, I don't know. It's a really good question, but because these are all terms that are actually official.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But
yeah, I don't think we have our own slang words, do we?
No, I don't think so.
Probably some to do with insects in Finnish language. Me and Robin like gathering and such. So that's pretty common as well.
That's quite common.
But
and the listeners in the US will go like, "What?"
yeah. It's a funny language, Finnish. So, but yeah, I'm not sure if we have any like slang that we use. We know that there is a fly fishing slang. A lot of people like. You like some people use it. But...
yeah, some people call large trout hogs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's. I think that's also like even in Finnish they call them like possuja.
They're like pigs.
Like pigs.
Yeah.
We don't really like. Or I don't like the term. I don't think it's. But some people
use derogatory.
Sorry.
It's kind of sad calling a beautiful trout a pig.
Yeah, that's yeah. We don't use it, so I think it's like why? But, yeah.
Seeing here in the States, here in the South, if somebody who's referring to a hog in terms of fish, they're talking about a largemouth bass.
Oh,
okay, so it's kind of universal.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool to know.
Yeah.
But we'll go on to the next question, and this is one as far as a cryptid or a potentially fictional creature would go. Well, what is one that you enjoy hearing stories about, or one that you are kind of interested by? I know here I've had folks say Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We have one here in South Carolina where I'm at called the Lizard Man, which is a giant lizard-like man. So what is something for you guys?
So it has to be fictional. I mean, okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, some people think Bigfoot exists.
Yeah.
That's true.
I
Well,
don't
we
know.
have
There's
this-
a lot in the folklore about
Yeah.
elves, elver people living in the mist and under the rocks and in the forest and stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this question.
Yeah.
Well, what's
think
one that might stand out in mind to you that if you were to have to tell a story around a campfire and involve one, what would be the one you'd include? Let's word it that way.
Well, I have a daughter. She's 6, and if I mention unicorns, she'd be super happy.
That sounds like my daughters.
So I would say if I could catch a unicorn and show it to her, I'll be a star.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that there's a couple of things that in Finnish folklore there is the this one creature that lives in the water, and so and like back in the day, people were kind of said this kind of spell or lore that to give us some fish and so and some people, my great granddad did it, and so I think it's called näkki. So I think that that is the one of like näkki is the one that you go for you ask for fish. You don't kind of you don't fish the fish, you ask the fish from näkki. So I think that's the one that comes to my mind at first.
That's cheating.
No, it's not. You have to ask him. He can say, or it can say, no, you can't have any fish, and then you can go home.
Oh, okay. I thought you just basically like a fishmonger.
Yeah, like local market. Yeah. Guy called Naki.
Yeah.
But
I got this from Naki. It's like, okay.
But for some reason, my favorite creature, like if I had to, like, I really like foxes for some reason.
Okay.
I'm a big fox fan.
Foxy guy.
Thank you.
You're a foxy guy.
I like giants. I think I like if I would tell a story to some kids, it would be about a giant. I like the parts in like children's stories and other stories where there's like the whole mountain is actually a giant, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jody, for me, like giants are like wise.
Yeah.
These huge creatures. Yeah.
Are they one-eyed or two-eyed?
Two-eyed, obviously.
Two-eyed, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think if Jody or the listeners or the watchers have watched, but there's a really cool reel in our Instagram page called the Hermit.
Yeah.
That it's all drawn and basically written by Robin. It's kind of this kind of a
fly fishing comic.
Yeah, fly fishing comic.
Yeah.
So, and there's this guy called, or a person called Hermit, taking adventures and trying to catch fish, and there can be these kind of creatures can be found from there as well, and some cool music and nice stories. So be sure to check that out.
Okay. Yeah, and you said that's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going. Once we get off here, I'm gonna go ahead and look that up.
Nice.
But the last question that I have for all of you before we go into the individual questions is, what is the first knot that you would recommend someone just getting into fishing? What is the first knot that you would recommend they learn to tie?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Are we tying the leader to a tippet or a tippet to a fly, or do you mean like in general, just one?
Just in general, what would be the most beneficial knot for somebody new to fishing?
I'd say a nailless knot to connect your leader to your fly line. And I think this is something that I learned from Flip Pallet, which is all about transferring the power of your cast throughout your whole line down to the fly. So instead of using like loops that usually they come, your leader comes with a loop and your fly line comes with a loop. So instead of that, cutting them off and actually tying them together, making them a uniform line, making the casting so much more efficient and smooth. So a nailless knot.
Okay.
Okay.
I will say, because you can go to a fly shop and get a knotted leader, 9-foot leader, and there's some of those even say that it's already a system of tippet as well. So they kind of added some tippet to the 9-foot as well. So you only need that, and then the fly rod and a fly reel and some fly line, and you just put that in, and then you just adjust, tie your fly to the leader. You don't even need any tippet. That's the easiest way. If someone wants to start fly fishing, you just need that. So 9-foot leader, and then use, I'd say, a good and easy knot to use. It's invented by this fly fishing legend called Davy Watton, and it's called the Davy knot. It's really easy knot to use, and it's super strong, and so it's really easy to make, and it's a small knot, which is kind of important if you're using small flies. That the knot, that the size of the knot that it goes in front of the hook eye, it's really small, but it's really sturdy and a good knot to use. So Davy knot for me.
I would say a triple searcher knot.
I forgot the half of the name of my knot. It's a nailless nail knot, not just a nailless knot. Sorry, just
Okay.
to clarify. It's a nail knot that you tie without a nail. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Lars?
Triple searcher knot. Basically for tying leader material together, and I believe a surgeon use it on patients. I'm sure it's good for fishing too. So I think they know what they're doing, and it's super easy to tie. And whenever you need to tie different size leaders together or any lines together, in surgeon knots.
I agree. I mean, those are probably the two knots that you really, there are hundreds and hundreds of knots you can use, but luckily we have the internet nowadays, and we don't have to try and error. We can just search for the best knots to use in fly fishing, so you can find those. And I'm pretty sure like those 3 of those are in top 5 at least. But yeah, you don't need to know many knots as long as you know the good knots.
Yeah. All right, and we'll go into the individual questions now, and I'm just going to go down the list, and we'll start with Jonas. What outdoor topic other than fishing is the most interesting to you, either to participate in or to just study?
Bird watching.
Okay. Do you have a life list?
Sorry?
Do you have a life list?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually just got a really nice binoculars just not a long time ago, but it's really good fun, and it's just something that you can do while you're fishing as well. You can if you have your small binoculars with you, you can just listen to the birds, and then because it's really important to have breaks when you're fishing too. Like when you're starting up fly fishing or fishing in general, you kind of just want to fish all the time and don't take breaks, and you just want to force yourself to fish for 6 hours straight, and there's no sense in that at all. So once you take some breaks and enjoy the nature, just sit down and enjoy the nature as well. So then you can learn, and you can find some birds that you haven't heard before, and So, and it's cool. It's like Boomer's Pokemon.
All right.
What kind of birds you're watching?
Sorry.
No, never mind.
Okay.
Robin, what is your ideal camping setup? A camper, a tent, or open sky? A hammock, or just around a campfire?
Oh, tent every time. I love tents. It's one of my big obsessions. I keep making more and more, and yeah, there's just something about sleeping in a tent that, for me at least, is I think you get all the best parts of sleeping outdoors. You get really, you can have a really good night's sleep under a blue, like a clear sky, but I think being able to sleep inside a tent so that you can rely on staying dry and warm, but still getting, all the atmosphere of being outdoors. So that's absolutely my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah, Robin has made a lot of tents, but I think in the film Charred, you really outdid yourself.
Yeah,
that is one mean tent.
Yeah, we call it the Cotton Palace. It's
yeah.
If you watch the film Charred, I think you'll see what we mean.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, now it's been mentioned a couple of times that you make the tents. Is that just a hobby, or do you make them and sell them also, or is that just something that you've got an interest in that you enjoy doing?
For now, it's mostly just really enjoy doing it. I've done some consulting for some outdoor brands regarding designing tents and stuff like that. But like the tents that I make for myself, for now, they're just for myself. But I think I don't see why not. At some point, I would be able to. I've made a couple tents, custom tents by order to friends, but I think I don't think it would be impossible to see, in the near future that I'll start offering either under Hermit or then just by myself, some of my own tents.
Okay. And Lars, what is an outdoor related skill or knowledge that you feel everybody should have, whether they have any interest in going in the outdoors and spending time in nature? They should know or be able to do what?
Make a fire.
That has by far been the most common answer for that question.
Well, without it, you're either not eating or you're freezing, or it's such a basic thing. And I don't know. I think a lot of people don't know how to make a good fire and how to place it right in the wind and get the fire going and building a proper fire. So I think that's a skill. And if you only go camping once a year, you might not know exactly what to do. And especially if you have shitty conditions like rainy weather and stuff, then it becomes a little more tricky.
Okay. All right. Back to Jonas. What is an outdoor related career that you would be most interested in pursuing? And we'll go ahead and take out anything related to Hermit Company. So no rod building, no Palmer making. What would be your next choice?
So can I say like guiding and fly tying and having a fly tying shop? Is that something that I can say?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Okay, so one of the things that we have and I have been in awe for a long time, and a lot of respect for them. It's the I think it's pronounced Dedi Fly Company in. It's in Catskills. They have the Dedi family has run that for a long time. I'm not going to even make a guess how long, probably 100 years, something like that. So like having that kind of like fly guiding and fly tying and probably even hosting like some and even accommodations like providing the full and the best fly fishing experience for someone, for a novice or even for a seasoned angler. I think that's the one that I would like to do, to help people to have fun in fly fishing.
Okay. All right. And Robin, I hope you're a reader, because the next question for you is, what is the current book or books that you're reading?
I'm reading a book in Swedish called, translated, The Bridge Builders, which is basically a huge historical, it's called like a collection of books that talks about, it starts out in the 1800s, about these Norwegian brothers who start out in a small Norwegian fishing village, and then they, through a course of, lucky events, they end up being able to go to study and become engineers, and then you follow their kind of careers and their lives through Europe, and it's kind of like it's a bit of history, a bit of fiction about Europe back in the 1800s.
Okay. And Lars, if you had to choose between the two, would you prefer a canoe or a kayak?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because I've been canoeing through Alaska, and when I met Robin, he helped me build my own kayak. It depends on the purpose, I think. I mean, if you're going down a river, I would take a canoe, and if you're paddling long distance, I would take a kayak. So
Okay.
I can only pick one.
Yeah, let's just say that you have to pick one, and that's the only one you can use for the rest of your life, no matter the circumstances.
I'll take a kayak then.
Okay.
They look better.
All right. And Jonas, another book question. What is your favorite outdoor or adventure book?
Oh, that is a difficult one.
And it can be fiction or nonfiction.
Well, the first book that comes to my mind, I'm gonna say it. So, Ernest Hemingway, Old Man and the Sea.
Okay. All right. And then Robin, let's see, your last question is, what is one outdoor activity in which you have no interest whatsoever in ever participating in?
Spelunking.
Okay.
Period.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. I don't like tight spaces, and going down a
dark tight space.
Dark tight wet space. No. Thank you.
All right, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up with Lars. What is the most recently used outdoors app that you have used on your phone? If you use an outdoor app, it can be a game, it can be the weather. I've had people say the weather app because that's the only thing they use on their phone other than to make calls.
I don't have. Well, actually, I have. I think it's called Health on the iPhone. I use that quite a lot.
Okay.
To see how much I walk, and I try to walk a lot and not take a bicycle or car, and just be experience the city on foot. So that would be my choice of app. Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, that's it. I appreciate y'all letting me interview you this afternoon for y'all, and morning for you. I've been sitting here kind of peeking out the window as the sun's come up here where I am. But before we go, is there any last thing that you'd like to say as far as about the company, where folks can find you? And again, I'll have links in the show notes for folks to be able to find you.
No,
I would say just reach out, and we'd be happy to connect and talk to people and answer any questions they might have.
Yeah, we take pride in our customer. Well, it's not even customer service. I wouldn't say. It's like more that we are available for a customer or someone who's interested in the Palmer or the rods, or
just fly fishing in general.
Yeah,
like we have people reaching out just with random questions, and we find that really fun, and just being able to help people if we can in any way. It's the best.
So kind of don't be a stranger, just go ahead. Mentalities.
Yeah.
That's the one.
All right. Well, again, thanks. I've enjoyed it, and I'm sure the audience has enjoyed it. And maybe once you guys announce these things that you're working on, maybe we'll look into having you back on to talk about that specifically.
Yeah, stay tuned for the latest film that is coming at some point.
Yeah, this spring.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
a
good.
big thank you to you for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
thanks a
Jared.
lot.
It was really fun.
it was my pleasure, and the treat was all mine. So being able to listen to you guys and learn from you guys. So
All right. Thank you.
all right,
Thanks
thanks.
a lot.
Take care.